ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and of course my they-them royalty, welcome to the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. My name is Ashton Gene Lewis. You know, honestly, man, I've been gone for a while. My voice was messed up for a little bit there, and also I had other life stuff happen. Like, for instance, my car potentially has given up on me. We'll see. We're at 270,000 miles on my Volkswagen Tiguan. So we've been working on that because obviously I don't make very much money off this podcast, as you can tell, more than likely from the number of views on the video. But for the most part, I just be out here grinding. You know, like I do this for fun, and I'm having a fun time doing it. But making the move out here to parts unknown is a little difficult sometimes. But anyway, I've also been fishing. If you want to see the fish that I catch, hit me up on IG at the Ashton Forever. I post it in every time I catch a fish, I post it in my Instagram story. So check that out for sure. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. For instance, actually, let me just get right to it. Let me get this in action so I can see what I look like in the frame. I'm gonna just be honest with you, man. This podcast was gonna be WNBA free agency, NFL draft, about like crazy stories about different players and stuff like that, and then the NBA playoffs. What it's turned into is WNBA free agency and the NBA playoffs, because the NFL draft is tomorrow when I'm recording this. Today's Wednesday, April 22nd. For those of you who like to keep track of the dates when the shows are posted, YouTube does that for you, so you can look at the bottom. Fix this. This is really sad. This mic stand has the silicone rubber band of every. Sorry, let me put it on the screen. Has the silicone rubber band of pretty much every single U.S. quad ball nationals that I've been to. And for those of you guys who don't know, I play the sport that is formerly known as Quidditch, that is currently known as quad ball, due to legal reasons and J.K. Rowling being a piece of shit. So I play that sport, and I did not get a chance to go to nationals for the first time in like 9 years this past weekend because my car broke down on my way to the airport. So that's pretty much all I'll say about that. I tried to fly on standby. Shit did not work, bro. Shit did not work. Anyway, my worst friend ever is texting me right now. The show is going on, which makes perfect sense for her. Anyway, but yeah, I had my car shut down on me or break down on me on the way to the airport very early in the morning. Couldn't make my flight. Tried to fly standby. They told me that if I did fly standby, I'd get a flight that probably has a layover in either Denver or Las Vegas, and then I have to fly standby at the layover as well, which is tough because it is on Saturday, and so I tried to fly standby on Saturday. Didn't work. It was a lot of bullshit. Anyway, that's what happens when you miss your flight. Don't miss your flight unless it's going to like some cool location like Vegas. The only other time I've ever missed a flight was to Las Vegas, Nevada for a friend's bachelor party, and they booked me on a flight that was an hour later because that's how time works. I was trying to get there early. Luckily, if you're ever going to miss a flight, make sure it's an early flight because that means the rest of the day of the flights that you have available are available for you to get rotated onto. And luckily for me, I booked United, and that's some space for me. So other than that, don't miss flights, kids. It's not worth it. That's a free life lesson in case you didn't have that. Anyway, this show is about the WNBA free agency and the NBA playoffs. I'm starting with the NBA playoffs just because I know there's a schism, not even a schism. There's a divide between the people who care about the NBA and the WNBA, and that's okay. First off, you can see it there on the right-hand side. Welcome to Las Vegas. I saw a bunch of different stories that were related to the NBA, and the one that stuck out to me, I think it stuck out to pretty much everyone because it seems like somebody's trying to pull the old switcheroo in the NBA as a whole, and that person is Adam Silver. So a report recently came out, and this was from playoffs starting. You get some access to the commissioner, and you get some comments from him about the state of the NBA as a whole. There will also be another big press conference that happens before the NBA Finals. That's usually where the state of the address for the league happens when it's all said and done. But right now, start of the NBA playoffs, and there were some comments made by one Adam Silver. I want to make sure I read them in full to make sure that I'm not misinterpreting what he said. But the story is basically about how Adam Silver suggesting that the Memphis Grizzlies totally fine for them to stay in Memphis, Tennessee. What they should be doing if they want to expand their connection to a bigger fan base is also be playing games in Nashville, which is interesting. I'll read the comments here because I think the story kind of extrapolates off of a big idea, but it does take some offhanded comments and turn them into something. But there's no such thing as offhanded comments when you're the commissioner of the NBA, right? Nashville is a city on the rise. Incredible things happening there. Silver said, if it were up to me, I would love to play a few games a year in Nashville and sort of be Tennessee's team to the extent that they can. I read this, I assume this was a lie. Not to say that Adam Silver is a liar. I think this is a little disingenuous. So a couple of things that I've written in my notes, and I want to make sure that the whole timeline going for you. Recently, this is like a couple weeks ago, LeBron James obviously has been getting into golf a lot more because, well, the moment's coming. Sooner than most of you would like to accept, sooner than I would like to accept. But the moment is coming where LeBron James will no longer be playing professional basketball. At some point, we all have to stop playing basketball for millions of dollars. And for some of us, that time comes a lot sooner, like before you start playing for millions of dollars. Hand up, that's me. And for some of us, it comes a lot later in life. So for instance, LeBron is 41. Have to imagine the fact that he's done pretty much everything you can do except win like the most titles ever has really changed his perspective in terms of like when it's going to be done for him to play for $40 million a year. So that being said, LeBron James made some comments on a YouTube channel. There's some guys who go catch golf. By the way, one thing I learned about streaming, I started paying attention to streaming a little bit more. There is a massive market for being able to do something that everybody likes and sucking at it. Because the group of guys that he went on their YouTube channel of actually suck at playing golf, from what I understand. They just play a bunch. I think it's great that you're teaching kids it's okay to have fun. You don't have to be absolute best at something to fucking go out there and do it and put it on camera. So, for instance, like a lot of people who have fishing channels, I've been learning that recently. Fishing has become my thing. Not that I'm retiring anytime soon, but fishing is, it's something that draws my interest. I've actually been catching a lot of bass. I actually caught crappie for the first time in the last couple of weeks. But at a certain point, there are people who are really good at it, and there are people who make a living not being good at it because that's relatable stuff. And what do you want to be? You want to be elite and have to worry about being elite at it, or you want to be mid/bad at it and have to worry about having fun when you go out to make content. LeBron James is on these guys YouTube channel. Don't know how many glasses of wine he was in. By the way, in the comments, if you see a person on the golf course that drinks wine while they're playing golf, let me know, because I've never seen that. I've seen beer. I myself partake in a lot of whiskey when I'm on the golf course because I don't see it as an opportunity to play sport. Golf isn't something that really interests me right now, but I do have a set of golf clubs. But let me know. I smoke cigars on the golf course and drink whiskey. That's what I do on my regular basis, just in general and stuff like that. Let me know if you've ever seen somebody drinking wine on the golf course, like a glass of wine, because I feel like LeBron is that kind of guy, which obviously would set him apart, because I think people drink like boxed wine when they're on the golf course. I doubt LeBron would let trash box wine touch his liver or his body. Anyway, those comments about LeBron complaining about how the hotel in Memphis is not it has to be like a 3-star or 5-star hotel or something like that. They don't have one of those in Memphis, Tennessee. Understandably so. Memphis is a hard-working people's kind of town. It's a town that is built. It's blue collar, so 5-star hotels are not necessarily at the top of the priority list. Before NBA stars come into town or whatever, but nonetheless, LeBron complained about that. He is one of many NBA players who complained about the quality of the hotel in Memphis, Tennessee, to play basketball games there. I think it's Draymond Green and a bunch of other players have over the course of the NBA as a whole. One thing I will also point out is I do believe there's I guess creator, because I found started following him on TikTok, and then I followed him on Instagram. So that's usually how the path goes. I spend a lot of time on Instagram than I do on TikTok that lets you know how old I am. Anyway, this is a guy who started off by sneaking into. He wouldn't even sneak in. He would walk. His whole thing was like he's a walk-on, right? He would walk around college football stadiums, try to find open doors, and then eventually make his way off the field. He got pretty prominent in the college football sports in general, I would imagine, by being a guy who was able to walk onto any field in America, and he couldn't, but for the most part, he could. Because there's always maintenance going on in these fields. Sometimes there's like construction, and a lot of times there's just open doors. That's just how it goes. It just depends on if you're willing to walk around long enough to be able to open doors. He actually went to the hotel that LeBron was talking to every NBA player stays at. I go to Memphis, Tennessee, and he actually stayed in that hotel. That he actually something about like they found out that he was a content creator, but he still paid for a stay at the hotel, and he showed people what LeBron is complaining about, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it's a bad look because most people don't understand that LeBron James is a billionaire, plus he's also 6'9", so they think that normal stuff that's really nice for regular people is great for LeBron James, and that's just not the case. It doesn't matter how, because at the suite at the Hilton, I don't even know if it was a Hilton, the Hilton that they have in Memphis, Tennessee is it has like bathrooms. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Right? Like LeBron he's 41 years old. He's concerned about the quality of the bed that he is sitting on. He doesn't care if there's two bathrooms, especially because he's one person. And he's not going to use two bathrooms when he's in the NBA hotel. But yeah, nonetheless, go check that out. Go check out both of those things. I'm assuming those guys who do the golf video are like chill. I don't know. But for the most part, you need to go check out the video breakdown of like the hotel that LeBron and a lot of other NBA players say they don't like staying in. There must be a reason for it because if you remember, a lot of you don't, most NBA players at one point or not, unlike most of the rich people that some of you guys idolize on the internet, started off as people who didn't have very much, and then they became people who had a lot. So, but yeah, the comments from LeBron on that YouTube channel where he basically said he doesn't like going to Memphis because the hotel's not very nice and a bunch of other things has now sparked a huge firestorm of like commentary for people. One of the other things that also sparked was apparently comments on how the team needs to just be moved to Nashville because Nashville, Tennessee, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, is a bigger city in terms of attraction to Memphis. A commissioner's legacy, and I think this is important to talk about this. Adam Silver is a former deputy commissioner under David Stern, who many consider to be, if not the best, one of the best commissioners in the history of the NBA as a whole, and has gotten it to the point where it is $1 billion organization overall and is a global brand, right? That is important when you think about people who are like Adam Silver. A lot of people need to understand where people like Adam Silver are coming from to understand why they say certain things. Adam Silver is a commissioner of the NBA, a commissioner of the NBA. He is not in charge of an individual team. He is not in charge. He is beholden to 30 people. The 30 governors, actually it's 29, right? No, it's 30. It's 30, my bad. I don't know why I said that. It's 30 people, the 30 different governors of the NBA, who are people who have been rich their whole lives. They're billionaires, for the part, in most cases. And outside of the Lakers, I think, outside of the Lakers, who else would not be a billionaire that owns an NBA team? It's not the time to think about that. But outside of the Lakers, I think Jimmy Buss, even though they've sold the team, they sold the team to like a group. And that's probably going to become way more prevalent as time goes on. Most of these teams are going to be owned. The primary stakeholder will be a group entity, not necessarily an individual person. But that's a conversation for another day. Going back to what I was saying before, I'm going to put the microphone and have this conversation. But going back to what I was saying before, Adam Silver is a man who is built to billionaires. His job, and his job has always been to maintain / increase the branding of the NBA globally while also increasing revenue, right? A lot of people coincide, like, you have a good brand. People think about, when people say NBA, they think about something positive. When people say the NBA, they think about something they care about, and they think about something that's elegant and luxurious and amazing to participate in, which is why they have you watching like the NBA on 17 different streaming services this year. That being said, when you think about generating more money, you need to take into account the factors that are connected to the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies just recently got a new owner, new primary owner, new governor, as they say in the NBA, because it's weird that they called the guys who own the team the owners or the players. Doesn't make any sense. They got a new primary owner. That guy correlated to some other wild stuff. Check that out on the Pablo episode. Memphis Grizzlies, Pablo Torre, and that episode of that podcast will tell you a lot about the person that we're talking about here today. But they did get a new ownership group who is not directly, like it's not a person from Memphis, not a person connected to Tennessee in a lot of different ways. And it means that they're probably somebody a little bit more amicable to the idea of making more money by making changes, right? Like making iconic, like legacy-defining changes to the brand. Same thing that Adam Silver is actually interested in to a certain degree, because he wants to be the guy who took over, and when he's retired or whatever it may be, he wants to be the guy who makes who is defined by the fact that he made the NBA better, not only a better place for players, but also a better place to make money for people, because we're now inching closer and closer to this threshold that I think a lot of us believe exists, but we don't talk about it as much. There has to be a cap on how much the NBA team is worth. And Adam Silver is in a tough spot because I think a lot of us believe that cap is pretty close to happening. Like, it doesn't make sense to a certain degree that the Memphis Grizzlies are $1 billion organization when like 45 games or like 12 games a year, right? Because they've been tanking for the last 5 years. Now, take that into account into what we understand about Adam Silver and his legacy, right? Adam Silver wants to be the person that is defined by being the guy who kept the torch going, right? If he wants to hand the baton off, he more than likely wants to be the person correlated with finding and pushing the NBA to a level that it's never seen before, like most people who are in positions of power or aim for positions of power, right? And one of the ways you can do that is increasing the value of NBA franchises. Now, there is a discernible cap on how much value you can get out of a team that is based in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, where there is not a discernible cap is where you can find a city in the same state maintaining the original fan base, more than likely not actually doing that, a city in the same state, a bigger fan base. Comments, like we heard before, Adam Silver wants to find a group of people. He wants to tap into a fan base, right? And maybe he wants to tap in temporarily because basically he's insinuating that because they mentioned in the article the San Antonio Spurs played some games during, I'm assuming this is during the rodeo road trip, which if you guys don't know, the San Antonio Spurs every year, because the San Antonio rodeo is in town, they actually get kicked out of their arena and they kind of make movements around different places. They go on a long road trip, unlike a lot of other NBA teams. Like, I think it's like a full month or something like that on the road. And they suggested that one of the NBA road trip spots would be a place near Austin, another city that you can say very much so is in the similar vein of Nashville, a city that is important to the state that it's in, right? Like Nashville is very important to the state of Tennessee. Not only is it a big city, but it has a lot of business going through it. Austin is the capital of Texas, despite people believe about Dallas and Houston. Austin is the capital of Texas, and that has a lot of value in terms of being able to negotiate resources, being able to negotiate a connection with the state of Texas. And then on top of that, a ton of tech money being dumped into Austin as a whole. Is why they've ruined South by Southwest for a lot of people, and much, on a much smaller Austin city limits. But we don't have to talk about that. Not right now. Anyway, there's a lot of money going into Austin that wasn't going into Austin before, right? Austin used to be, I wouldn't even say a small town. It used to be a quaint place, a quaint city somehow. It was a big place that had a group of people that had their own unique culture, and it seems like that culture is being washed away because there's a group of people from other places who are flooding into the city. There's a lot of people, and they'll tell you this, a lot of the people that used to live in Austin now live in places like Pflugerville, which is just outside of Austin, aka a suburb of Austin. And that's more of an Austin type place. But Austin is a scenic place, beautiful, beautiful city that has seen a lot of expansion in the last couple of years. Same thing with Nashville. Nashville is a city that has always been deeply connected with country music, right? Like, and I mean like the ancient elders that control who becomes a big time country star are rooted in Nashville, Tennessee. That's why they sing about it so much in them songs, if you don't know. Nashville, Tennessee is the place where if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere in country music. And most of the time, you got to start off by making it in Nashville before you can make it anywhere, because the record label execs and all the other people who are associated with your success as a country artist, for instance, people talk about this all the time. Beyonce released her album, Cowboy Carter. Beyonce is from Houston, Texas. And most people, when you say Texas, they know that's the deep South. Houston, Texas, third largest city in America, right? My hometown, love H-Town till I drown. And Beyonce releasing that country album basically centered around how black people also live in the country. That's essentially what the whole album is about. Was received very differently than what Post Malone released when he shifted for the fourth time to a different music genre that made him a little bit better, right? Like he went from rap. He went from like house music to rap to pop to now country. He changed his whole vibe and how he acts and what he talks like kind of a little bit. And he changed, importantly, the people he hang out with and where he hangs out, right? He was the guy who went down to Nashville, Tennessee and hung out and appeased the ancient elders of Nashville, I like to call it. And he was able to go out there and win awards. Cowboy Carter, an album created by one of the biggest musical acts, musical stars that we've seen in the last 34 years. If there's ever a person that you could say has been on top of their game almost literally their entire life, Beyonce has been famous since she was 13. She's like 40 something now, right? That means something. But when it came to the country, it didn't mean that because she didn't go down to Nashville and pay attention to a lot of people. A lot of albums sold, did not win a lot of awards that went and correlated to how successful her album was, right? That's okay. Most importantly, I think it's to point out how integral Nashville, Tennessee is to country music as a whole. And when you have an entire music genre that runs through a city, there's a lot of money there. There's a whole lot of money there. Plus, the fact that for some reason, I love, and actually I need to research into this a little bit more because I believe the path has been made very clear. The Memphis Grizzlies are probably going to be moving to Nashville, whether they want to or not. And I have to say this right now. The owner of the Memphis Grizzlies is going to tell you a lot of bullshit over the next like 5 to 6 years. Believe what people do, not what they say. That's what they say down here in the South. I think they say that. I'm sure that phrase has some variation in every single language on this planet, and every single variation, every dialect of English that's in this country, the United States of America. Believe what people do, not what they say. But going back to it, the Memphis Grizzlies more than likely going to Nashville. Not because LeBron James said anything about it, because it's probably a part of a bigger plan that the NBA has in terms of its overall expansion. Like we already know, the Seattle, we've been guaranteed the Seattle Supersonics are returning. We've been guaranteed there's going to be a new Las Vegas expansion team, right? There's already a WNBA team there, and if you haven't noticed, because you don't pay attention to the WNBA, every single team in the NBA is more than likely within the next 10 years going to have a corresponding WNBA partnership, right? And it's going to be a way for these arenas to generate money almost year-round when they don't have concert venues and all this kind of shit like that. It's going to be a way to increase the profile of the NBA and the WNBA, and it was a plan that happened a couple of years ago, just didn't pan out because women's basketball talent hadn't been nurtured enough at the grassroots level to be able to fill out professional basketball teams at that tier, right? They weren't marketed well enough. There wasn't enough money behind it. And now it seems like there is plenty of money behind it. We'll see what happens in the long run. But for the most part, keep that in mind. Keep it in the back of your head. Everything we see is pointing towards that again. For instance, there are two new, if you don't know, there are two new teams been initiated, and they are going to start playing this year. It is the Toronto Tempo and the Portland Fire. Does anybody know if there's an NBA team in Toronto? Does anybody know if there's an NBA team in Portland? Exactly, right? So that's a core part of this. But going on before, Adam Silver, really a guy that wants to be known and held in a positive light. Just like every person who runs any type of big-time business, they want to be held in a positive light about what they did for the organizations that they work with. Adam Silver was held in a positive light for what he did in the NBA. A lot of money to be made in Nashville, not in Memphis. New owner of the team, more amicable towards making the move to make more money, right? Like when you move a team, when you move an NFL or NBA or MLB or NHL franchise, you're going to make more money off rip because you're going to be signing new contracts with a city that didn't have a previous professional sports team, right? And so they're more amicable to be overspending in terms of like the value and show that they're really dedicated to the new business coming into town and what this business could do for the city in the long run, right? And so like you people to want to stay and connect with and be a part of what is going on in the new city. There's new uniforms. There's new people buying jerseys. There's a new fan base, especially if you're going from a smaller place to a bigger place. There's more people stuff too. And that's what I feel like is happening here when it comes to the Memphis Grizzlies, right? And I know it starts off small. That's how it always is. There's not gonna be a day, and I say that when we live in a time where, the Baltimore Colts became the Baltimore Ravens almost overnight. There's not a time where we're gonna go to Monday and we're gonna wake up the next day to a new NBA franchise in Nashville, Tennessee. And they've taken out everything that was in the arena for the Grizzlies, and they've moved on to Nashville, and they found an arena, all this kind of stuff like that. That is not going to happen. We don't live in that time anymore because the NBA has gotten too big the NBA has increased, gotten to a scale that can't happen anymore. And I think there's a lot of arrows pointing towards that move happening. And I know it sounds crazy, but even in the article that I read, they talked about how the lease in the stadium for the Memphis Grizzlies, the lease arena for the Memphis Grizzlies is up in 2029. You know what I mean? Not too far down the road. And then most importantly, a series of other things, which has been a little interesting. Memphis is a city that found itself in some financial trouble overall. We know this from the simple fact that there are massive people who are interested in AI that are targeting Memphis because they've already said that they're willing to play ball with data centers, right? Like that's where Colossus 2 is located for Elon Musk. And they're generating and pushing in money and revenue into the city. And if there's one thing just like Adam Silver wants to be the guy who's identified and known for increasing revenue, increasing the brand of the NBA. Same thing goes for mayors and local politicians. They want to be associated with the city success, especially when you talk about a city like Memphis that you can sit down on its luck right now economically. You want to be part of the wave that makes it a better place. Plus, you also want to get the checks that they're secretly writing for all those people. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, right, data centers. A lot of data centers going to Memphis. Money being flooded into the city because they're willing to sign and play ball with people who are trying to install data centers all over the city. Right? That already happened. Nashville, on the other hand, like we mentioned before, deep connection to country music industry that is not going anywhere anytime soon. Plus the now increasing amount of tourism that's happening, which is strange because the bachelor and bachelorette parties being a big part for some people if they want to go to like the country instead of they call it Nash Vegas for a reason. And they mean that shit because, if you listen to people who pay attention to tourism and pay attention to a bunch of other factors, there's been a move from people to going like Las Vegas has become the premium of premium places to go when it comes to you have a lot of fun and you got a lot of money to spend, as opposed to like Nashville is a place where you can go and have a lot of fun, but you don't have like Vegas money to spend. There's actually articles and like videos made on YouTube by people who live in Las Vegas that have been seeing this kind of, I wouldn't even say on this concept for a long time. Like Las Vegas is now charging premium prices for their premium level of entertainment that they provide for a long, long time. And it's definitely 2020 and the revenue loss in the places that were shut down and the places that were closed, reducing of competition usually means that prices go up. So we don't have economics, but yeah, supply and demand. Supply stays the same. Demand, the supply has been cut down and the demand is stayed at the same as well. So supply dropped down, demand has skyrocketed or stayed the same. And so now they can charge higher prices, get more out of the people who pay more. So the series of things that make this interesting. The new team owner is always something that you have to pay attention to when you talk about a team moving because for the most part, there's a lot of benefits to moving your team. Especially, like I said, if you're going from smaller to bigger, Ja Morant kind of essentially not playing the entirety of this season. So he's an NBA level superstar from what we understand, and for whatever's going on in terms of like the mental side of it, the star power is just not there to draw in the ticket sales like we all thought they would back in the day. They fired Taylor Jenkins in 2025. Now, and I think you should stick when I make this point. Taylor Jenkins, 2025 was 2026, right? Taylor Jenkins gets fired after the Memphis Grizzlies are a top team in the West going into the playoffs. They fall apart, right? Trade away Jaren Jackson. They get rid of Dylan Brooks. They get rid of Desmond Bane. Both of those guys have gone on to be part of playoff teams. Desmond Bane is literally playing in the playoffs with the Magic versus the Pistons right now while I'm recording this podcast. Dylan Brooks literally playing in the playoffs, I think a little bit later tonight, with the Suns versus the Oklahoma City Thunder right now, like on this day. So to make the argument that we're like not good basketball players doesn't make any sense, right? Now you can sit here and talk about how small market teams have to operate a little bit differently, and I wonder, can you do two things at one time when you're a small market team? Can you dampen people's interest in the team by tearing it apart? And can you also put yourself in a position where you're gaining new talent, gaining high-level, elite-level new talent, the best way that small market teams know how to do that? And that is, of course, via the draft. Interesting how two things how like a series of goals could align perfectly. And then you make the move to somewhere else, and you've got the new talent and the new ideas to go along with it. And they're popping off at the right time to get the new fans interested in the new look Nashville Grizzlies. Maybe they changed the name of the team. Who knows? But anyway, I take that time. I'm going to take that time and chill out. I think it's important that we as fans think about that a little bit more. The plan, the plot, if you will. I'm going to take a break. You're going to take one too. We'll be right back right here on the Broke Boys Sports Podcast. Oh man, we're back. We're back here. Let's talk about it. Let's get to it. I will be honest. Damn, what is happening? Where's my full screen at? Sorry guys. Oh, there it is. All right, man. Let's talk about the NBA playoffs, then we'll talk about the WNBA free agency. WNBA free agency that's been going on, and everything that's been popping off, man. So let's take it from the top. I'm gonna do this right now. I've been watching a series of games. I've not watched every single game. I watched some quick replays, not highlights. I did watch the condensed replays of every single NBA playoff game, and I got some thoughts, which is rare for me to think. Anyway, let's talk about the Rockets and Lakers. Why me and most of my family are fucking pissed. So the Lakers are just absolutely cooking the Rockets, like every possible aspect. So we found out right before Game 1 that Kevin Durant is not going to be playing in Game 1. It definitely came off like the Rockets wanted to. It definitely came off like Rockets looked at the Lakers, Luka with Austin Reeves, and with old LeBron James, and they were like, we can probably spam a win, which is really funny considering they got fucking dismantled by the Lakers 2 weeks before the regular season ended, and they did it again in Game 1, and then they did it again in Game 2. So hilarious for all of us all around, right? Great time for everybody except Rockets. So, but yeah, that's what's been happening. The lack of cohesiveness in the offense, the lack of consistent three-point shooting, honestly, the struggles to get to the rim have been a huge part of why the Rockets have not been able to actually beat the Lakers. Because the Lakers have a lot of times where they are cutting through, they're a hot knife cutting through butter, versus the Rockets defense, which is really horrible for a team that prides itself on its defensive ability. The Rockets may be better than more than half of the teams they actually might be a top 10 team in the NBA currently. Too bad when you're the 4 seed or the 5 seed going into the playoffs, play a team that's right around your level. And the Lakers, also a team that is better than most of the teams in the NBA, and they're getting cooked by an old man. And it's, I'm sure it's great for everybody who's a LeBron fan, which I consider myself to be. LeBron James is a guy that I find to be pretty dope. Because of like how he's lived his life. Obviously, him as a basketball player is pretty fucking amazing. He's one of the greatest of all time. And it's just really disappointing to hear we've been saying all season, right? Like once Steven Adams went down, Rockets' whole thing was we're the bigger team. We run double center. We are getting to the rim. We get a ton of rebounds. And we got to our three-point shooters, and they're able to get a bunch of buckets. Once Steven Adams left, you could definitely tell the defensive ability, getting closer to the rim, had dropped off a little bit. Now, Amen has been doing a pretty good job in terms of being the guy that you kick the ball to and be able to score at the rim. Now, the shooting, not necessarily. The other struggles, obviously, we're still waiting on to see if Jabari Smith can develop into like that corner three-point shooter that the team needs. And right now, that's not the case. It's not the case. It's looking pretty bad, guys. They're out there getting cooked by Luke Kennard. So that's tough. That's tough. Anyway, the Lakers, a team that has had 3 of the better players in the NBA, right? Like they have 3 all-stars on their team, Austin, Luka, and of course LeBron James, right? They found a way for DeAndre Ayton to do his thing and still be successful, which is something not short of a miracle. But yeah, it's bad. It looks like they're about to get swept. I'm dead serious too on that. They really struggled to play and beat the Lakers in the regular season. It looks like they're struggling to play and beat the Lakers in the postseason. This is like legitimately the worst matchup they could have gotten off because this is the one team that you think that they're better than for the most part on paper, and they really struggle, and it looks bad. The games look close, but you don't feel like they're close. You feel like in the first 3 quarters, it's 2 evenly matched teams going back and forth, and then all of a sudden, either after the third quarter, the Lakers get some kind of lead, or more than likely, late into the fourth quarter, the offense for the Rockets essentially disappears, folks. And that's what's been happening. It's been a lot of fun for the Lakers fans, I'm assuming, as well, because it's looked bad for the Rockets. We'll see what happens when they come home. They say playoff series don't start until you get a dub on the road. So we'll see. This could be maybe a backhand sweep. That'd be nice. I don't think you can backhand sweep somebody when you're down 2-0, but we'll see. We'll see. It's looked fucking horrible. I'm not gonna lie. Not having Van Fleet to be able to be a consistent 3-point shooter, and of course, get the ball out of Reece Shepard's hands so he can focus on other stuff like scoring the basketball. We have a lot of times where Kevin Durant is the guy bringing the ball up and down the court. Obviously, he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but it sure would be nice to be able to trust the point guard on the court, be able to do some making as well. So, that's just not the case. It's not the case. Pistons versus Magic. Man, this is interesting. So if you guys don't know, the whole deal with the Pistons is they have not won a playoff game since the year 2008. And I'll tell you how long ago that was. In 2008, I was a sophomore in high school, and I'm 33 right now. So it was quite some time ago. They have won playoff games because remember they won playoff games last year. They have just won, which many could argue the more valuable playoff win out of the two that you could pick. But it resulted in the same thing, not getting out of the first round. The Magic and the Pistons are actually playing right now. I'm going to get a score look. Let me see if I can get a little look-see here. Had a 30-3 run in the third quarter, and the Pistons won. Series is tied 1-all, which is actually really surprising in a lot of these first-round matchups because for the most part, if you're an NBA fan, you know the first round of the NBA playoffs is a bombardment of basketball that necessarily is not good, right? But we've got multiple series that are tied up after 2 games at one apiece, right? And that's good to see because we are in an era of change. We are in an era where younger players are rising up and they're taking the reins from some of the older players that are in the league. Obviously, the stalwart in a lot of these cases in terms of being the old guard. The definition of the old guard last season, you could argue, was the big moment where like Steph Curry and LeBron were in the second round of the playoffs, and they got destroyed in the first round as well. And that was like the first time, and I want to say, is it like 20 seasons? It was the first time in 20 seasons that neither one of them had made it past the first round or something like that. And we move on into this new era that is run by players. And Cade Cunningham, despite the loss in one of the series, scored a career-high 39 points in game one of this series. Just too bad nobody else really kind of contributed, and that was really a bigger issue. The guy that we got to really be paying attention to is Jaden Duren, who power forward / center for the Pistons. I think that he's going to be the integral part of deciding whether or not they actually win this game when it's all series when it's all said and done. Obviously, victories are won on and off the glass, and Jaden Duren is a prime example of a guy that has to absolutely be the guy that is the duo partner for Cade Cunningham, because he's been doing it vast majority of the regular season, and then too they need him when the pressure is on. They're tied 1-1 in this series, which is huge for the Detroit Pistons, who a team that I think a lot of us, you mentioned the Pistons and you're just like, oh man, where are they picking in the lottery? And now we're talking about them winning the playoffs straight up. Anyway, 76ers Celtics on this one, crazy shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is if you're gonna make an argument about which playoff is gonna actually be competitive, there's not a chance in this world or the next, and maybe even the one after that you would make one of those arguments for the 76ers competing with the Boston Celtics, one of the best teams in the NBA the last couple of years. They won a championship 2 years ago. They're one of the best, led by a guy who's supposed to be the next one in Jason Tatum, a guy who's supposed to be alpha dog for the Celtics, and Jaylen Brown, right? And they're actually doing the thing with a bunch of guys that you never expected. Like Tyrese Maxey, we all knew was good. Like 2 years ago, we knew Tyrese Maxey was good. And he's been amazing overall, not because he's super fast or anything like that. He plays defense, nasty. But to add another guard in the current edition of the NBA and figure out another way for another guard to step up and be a big part of why you win games is amazing. 76ers and VJ Edgecombe, a guy who's a fucking rookie, right? And they're going toe to toe with two of the best guards in the NBA. It depends. We all say that Jason Tatum's a power forward. I feel like he's a guard. Anyway, we all say that. And they're going out here, they're doing their thing, bro. Like it's VJ Edgecombe has been integral in the fact that he's able to actually win so against like 90% of the people that the Celtics put in front of him. And not many players in the NBA can say that. And then Tyrese Maxey doing his thing. Plus, they're out there, they got old man Drummond doing his thing at the center position. I would have never thought a team that loses the second best center in the NBA is going to find themselves in a position where they've stumbled into the playoffs. Crazy work overall from the 76ers this season in what could have easily been a year where they're playing the lottery. And now they're putting that work. Now they're in the playoffs competing against the Boston Celtics, one of the most iconic franchises overall. And then when you go watch the game, it's actually really fun to watch them play basketball just because when you have a team where there's no way to escape the key matchup, right? There's no way to duck out of Edgecombe coming up against either Brown or Tatum at some point. No way to duck out of Tyrese Maxey, Brown or Tatum. It is best on best, figuring out a way when it's all said and done. And for both of the teams to be able to go back and forth, like truly back and forth, right? Like they looked bad in game 1, game 2, they came back and got the dub. Massive stuff for the first round of the NBA playoffs when it's all said and done. Yeah, 76 Celtics, you watch it. One, also they're wearing the throwbacks. I don't know how many times they're going to wear the throwbacks in the playoffs. They already wore them once, so it could be on that one. But whatever, check it out. Other weird series that is slightly awesome, not slightly. Other weird series that is crazy how good it is. Trailblazers, San Antonio Spurs. Originally, and I think we can safely say this. The Portland Trailblazers barely won Game 2 of the series. And there was a massive shift in the energy of this series overall. You see Wemby go down because of a listed concussion. Now, how long he's going to be out, not necessarily sure, right? Concussions, there's reasons they have them classified as different injuries, grade 1, 2, 3, and 4, all that kind of stuff like that. But to sit here and say that Wemby's teammates are similar to like the LeBron James teammates we saw in his first run with the Cleveland Cavaliers when they were in the playoffs, right? That team, if LeBron goes down with concussion, that team, like they're done. There's no chance for them to succeed whatsoever. This team with the Spurs, though, right? Like they have 6 man of the year for a reason. They have De'Aaron Fox, one of the best guards, one of the guards in the NBA as a whole overall, and a bunch of other players who really stepped up. I'm not going to sit here and say Luke Kornet steps up and fills in the void where you see our guys like Wemby stepping up or whatever. But for the most part, this Spurs team is well built overall, not necessarily just through the fact that they have a once-in-a-lifetime type of NBA player, a guy who is for the first time ever won unanimous defensive player of the year. And Wemby, by the way, crazy set of circumstances, right? So they announced defensive player of the year the day before game 2 of this series. Game 2 happens, Wemby gets hurt, and then the day after they announced that Keldon Johnson is 6 man of the year. It feels like the basketball guys, and it feels like maybe the basketball guys are sitting here saying, what a great regular season the Spurs had. But we'll see. Only time will tell. I will say this does give us time, a chance to talk about the crazy thing that has been happening quietly all season. Some of us have missed out on it because we don't live in the West. So we don't have to stay up and watch Portland Trailblazers games. But Scoot Henderson actually panned out as an NBA player, as the number 1 pick overall. Like there's so many times where you look back at drafts where you're just like, man, we should have seen how bad this was going to be coming up. Scoot had a rough 2 years, mainly because the team wasn't really invested in the team's success. Whatever. Scoot, 24 points a game, doing work. And then we got Denny Advia, who I would be remiss if I didn't point out was originally drafted by the Washington Wizards, and they said he wasn't good enough to be on their team. And, once again, for the I want to say 57th billionth time, the Wizards were wrong about how good a player could be. Turns out all he needed to do was play the Washington Wizards, and he was able to play really good basketball. Who would have thought? This series does get a little bit interesting, but I think in the long run, especially just on the defensive side of the ball, I think a lot of people, obviously, you look at losing the Defensive Player of the Year and you're like, oh man, everything is just falling apart. They got a lot more juice to them. There's a lot more juice to them. And yes, I think Wemby going down does do a lot to you mentally as a player, to the point where the Portland Trailblazers are a team that, I'll be honest with you, I know we sit here and talk about how shitty the play-in is and how much we hate the play-in. The play-in kind of heated up a little bit. The play-in kind of got you going a little bit about the Portland Trailblazers. It's hyped about the Charlotte Hornets. It got us hyped about the Miami Heat to a certain degree as well. But it mostly got you hyped about the Portland Trailblazers because they had some amazing close games that they were able to go out there and pull victory from the jaws of their feet. And a lot of the times, Jimmy Avia had that crazy game-winning layup off of the mat. Like, by the way, and I cannot stress this enough. You as a basketball fan need to get into slow-mo basketball IG. So if you don't know, every person who is on the court that's either taking photographs or taking video, because there's not just the TV cameras that are taking videos, there's different video feeds that come from different members of social media, freelance, stuff like that. They have cameras and they're recording almost every angle of this game, right? And so the day after the game, you'll see the beautiful moves that you saw on the TV broadcast last night in slow-mo and crazy high definition on Instagram from the sideline or from above, and you'll be able to see little details that you didn't see before. Just like you gotta, as a sports fan, you gotta get into slow-mo IG. I'm assuming it's on TikTok as well. You need to do that for yourself personally. It will improve your health. I can't sit here and say that. You getting into slow-mo NBA IG and TikTok will improve your health as a sports fan. So moving on, I do believe the Spurs are going to be able to go out here and finish this off. Don't know how long Wemby is going to be out. I will say this: when Wemby hits the ground, that's a long down, baby, and that may be a fact. Last one here that I got comments on. I think no, I got two more. That I actually have like real comments on, and then we'll take another break, and then we'll finish up with WNBA free agency and what's been happening. The Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Denver Nuggets. This game, this series feels like it is a robbery of sorts because it's a first round series as opposed to what it legitimately is a Western Conference semifinals or Western Conference finals if we lived in a different universe in a different time in a different place. I know at one point it was, but it does feel like not only have the Nuggets bounced back from the little funk that they had a year ago, but the Minnesota Timberwolves are still finding a way to, and of course, it's been Ant's team for a long time, but everything running through Ant being able to do whatever he wants as he becomes an even greater NBA player than I think most of us ever thought he could be, right? And I'm not going to sit here and shit on Rudy Gobert, but Rudy Gobert touching the ball a little bit less. Anyway, this series is awesome. If you want to see just amazing, beautiful basketball, there are a lot of basketball geniuses on the court. Like, for instance, it's so good to see Jamal Murray, a guy who's been on a constant path to get better as a basketball player, actually continue to improve all these years, right? Like, he's become a better scorer as time has gone on. And there used to be this thing where like Jamal Murray would get hot a little bit and then he would kind of fade away. But really what it's become is like his scoring has become way more consistent. And he was already consistent to begin with, but it's become something that you absolutely expect as an NBA fan of the Denver Nuggets for him to continue not only as a point guard to be able to shoot the ball and make plays and stuff like that, but there's times where like Jokic can literally just take plays off because Jamal's going to be able to go out there and make something happen bucket-wise, man. And of course, Nikola Jokic, who once again has done something that's never been seen before in the NBA. He led the league in rebounds and assists. Casual GOAT shit, you know what I mean? There's going to come a time where you're going to have that conversation. I don't think a lot of people are ready for that, especially a lot of people who are big fans of Michael Jordan. We'll see. Only time will tell. This series, absolute must-watch. There's one series that you watch all at any point during the NBA playoffs, Timberwolves Nuggets. There's too many amazingly high-level, big-time players that are on this team, both of these teams, and they play beautiful basketball. Like, for the old heads that are out there, that are like, oh, all they do is travel, all they do is gather stuff, all they do is shoot threes. This series is about people. This series is about ballers getting to the hoop. And it shows every single aspect of it. Both of these games have been pretty close. But, it's tied 1-1 for a reason. And I'm assuming it will continue to be a knockdown, drag-out fight because whoever doesn't survive this playoff series, everybody fired. I would imagine most people are going to get fired in terms of the players, in terms of like people moving on from different players. They got to revamp the team just because both of these teams probably hate where they lined up in the Western Conference Final when it was all said and done. Anyway, moving on, Knicks Hawks, Eastern Conference up here. Got to be tough, right? It's got to be tough for Trae Young. If you guys don't know, Trae Young, former Oklahoma Sooner, now for a long period of time was an Atlanta Hawks budding superstar, and eventually, like so many things, potential turns to annoyance in sports. And he was traded away this season to the Washington Wizards. Has been there for a while. If you didn't know, the Washington Wizards did not make the playoffs, so don't worry about that. The Hawks made two key moves, and it's paid off big time for them. They stopped playing Zachary Risache, who's a former lottery pick a couple years ago, and they've also moved on to Trae Young, and they found a way to absolutely hoop. It is crazy. Kelser Walker, as you affectionately know him as SGA's cousin, because he is the new Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard guy. Did you know that Kessler Walker is cousins with SGA? Did you know? Anyway, absolutely amazing career year for him. Overall, he's leading the team in points. I think he's leading them in assists too. So he's kind of showing out here a little bit. And the Knicks, a team that a ton of investment on top of that, it don't take too much for the Knicks fans to put expectations on the Knicks to go out there and do crazy shit. This year, they got rid of Thibodeau last season because Thibodeau's thing is after the first year everything goes to shit. The Knicks believe that. The Knicks believe that because they got all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals and it kind of fell apart for them. You know what I mean? So they go out here, you get a new coaching staff, get a new approach. Jalen Brunson's still out there doing his thing. Jalen Brunson, a guy who's been underlooked for a long period of time and for some reason is getting locked up in this series. And CJ McCollum is out here fucking cooking. CJ McCollum on a whole nother level, defensively and offensively, and it is dismantling the Knicks at points. They're 1-1 in this series. I'm going to be honest with you, they're going to lose their shit if they lose this one versus the Hawks, just because not many people have a lot of respect for the Hawks when it's all said and done, and everybody already hates Karl Anthony Towns, and they would love another reason to shut up. Anyway, take another break. When we come back, we'll talk about WNBA free agency, every signing that has and hasn't happened so far, and we'll wrap up the show. That's the last show, and I'm excited for it. So let's see. This is by it's Christina Gukas, by the way. Let's go with Can You See It? I don't know. I haven't heard this one in a while. Here we go. And we're back here live on the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. My name's Ashton Gene Lewis. If you're this deep into the podcast, I don't know how you don't know that, but I do appreciate you for checking the show out. And so, last time we did this podcast, last time we did the show, the WNBA just recently signed a CBA agreement, which did, as we all expected, designate a massive increase in resources in terms of the salary cap overall. And I just want to talk about it. Just want to talk about the big money for everybody who's out there hooping. Anyway, the WNBA, I will say this. There was a series of things that happened. You could tell who has an agent that's focused in dealing with a high-level player, because pretty much every major player in the WNBA as a whole was a free agent this past year, this past free agency period going into the regular season, because they definitely were looking at the cutoff date for the current CBA, and they were like, well, we know the salary is going to go down once we negotiate a new CBA. Either we'll be locked out and we want players to be free to go play in other countries or somewhere else or do whatever they want to do, because they won't be signed to a WNBA team and thus eligible for the penalties that come for when you're not ready to report like on a certain date for a WNBA team. That happens. If you don't know, every year there's some player at some point, like for instance, the League basketball final was this past week, and there was Kayla McBride and Brianna Stewart who were on Forschenhagen? It's something Leverkusen, I think. It is a team that owns a Bundesliga team that also owns a EuroLeague basketball women's team, and they won the championship. It's the team that Brianna Stewart usually plays for when she goes overseas. They had Kayla McBride, who I was under the understanding she was injured, had like an ankle injury or something like that. I guess she came back. And then Gabby Williams, who plays typically, really made her comeback into the WNBA last season, or the last two seasons. She played for the Seattle Storm, and we'll talk about where she's at later on. But a lot of key players for every team in the WNBA was a free agent to make sure that they were available and eligible for the new money that they knew was going to come into the league. And we'll talk about a big difference in the money spent from one league year to another. The free agent list was, like I said, 108 players, and I want to say about 70 of those were key players you see on different teams. But yeah, the big thing that happened before free agency really popped off is the Chicago Sky, trading away Angel Reese to the Atlanta Dream, and Angel Reese in a subtle victory lap of getting away from the Chicago Sky was pretty hilarious. There was a lot of people who were making jokes about the Sky on the internet, and Angel Reese was just dropping a little subtle like on some of the comments and some of the videos. She's been branding it as the new Barbie Dream House is where she's going. Get it? Barbie Dream House is great. I think she's been waiting on that one for a while. She's been sitting on that one for a while. Hopefully they sell the t-shirts for that as well. The last season, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about in free agency overall, Chicago Sky for the last year been under heavy scrutiny because of their either inability or unwillingness to spend more money to get players around Angel Reese. They had a terrible season this last year. A lot of it was Camila Cardoso, who's another rookie that previously with South Carolina and is now playing for the Chicago Sky. She's still going into her second year in the Chicago Sky coming up, but the biggest issue was the lack of spending to get veteran players in to center themselves around Angel Reese, a talented power forward / center in the WNBA when it's all said and done. The Sky didn't want to do that, and they showed that by trading her away and spending a shit ton of money to get a bunch of veteran players in to probably center themselves around Camila Cardoso when it was all said and done. So last season, they were $1.4 million under the new cap as their total salary cap that they were paying players out. This season, they were under the new CBA. They spent $6.5 million under the new CBA. That is a massive difference for the amount of money being paid out to players. They were ninth in money spent, $1.4 million last year. They are first in money spent this current season with the 6.5 that we just talked about. The year prior to Angels' rookie season, they were first in the WNBA because they spent $1.5 million. That just gives you a little concept of how the gap between the top and the bottom in terms of spending is when it's all said and done. The Sky have been flooded with Since then, they've picked up Azurá Stevens, a center who was previously playing for the LA Sparks, who has now shown herself to be quite a force in the unrivaled season as well. Skylar Diggins, a long-standing veteran point guard who brings a lot of intensity and a lot of skill, along with her ability to draw to the hoop and everything like that. She's one of the stronger players in the WNBA, despite giving up size advantages to a lot of people. Dejanay Carrington, one of the better defenders, when it was all said and done, also a point guard. Interesting to see how they figure that out. And then the Sky traded for Rickea Jackson, who is a power forward that, if you guys are familiar with Unrivaled, she played for the new team with the Breeze. That is they play for the team, the Breeze, which is the team that had Paige Beckers and also Dominique Malonga. And Rickea looks really good with them. She's also been playing really high-level basketball early on in her career as well. So her mix with Sky, it feels like it was a pretty clear message being sent. They don't believe in Angel Reese, but they believe in their ability to build around Camila Cardoso, perhaps, and some veteran presence as well. And they had Elizabeth Williams, and then I said they had Vandersloot as well. She was their starting point guard last year. I think Courtney also may be out because of her ACL that she tore at the end of last season. They also have Gabrielle Jaquez, who played for UCLA, now reigning women's basketball champ for the college ranks. She's a rookie that they drafted. She is, yes, as you can imagine, she is Jaime Jaquez's younger sister, who plays for the Miami Heat. That's pretty cool. They're a playoff caliber team now, based off just the free agency that I'm seeing here. But we'll see when it's all said and done. Moving on, let's talk about the Aces. My team, my squad, I'm still very much up in the air about the big change coming. If you guys haven't heard, the Connecticut Sun have been officially sold to a Houston group that's headed by Tillman Fertitta, if I'm not mistaken, who is the owner of the Rockets, primary owner for the Houston Rockets, primary governor for the Houston Rockets. There's been a team that they purchased the Connecticut Sun from, and so all those players who, by the way, look at the roster. They have Aaliyah Edwards, Sanaya Rivers, and I'm pretty excited just about those two players alone. And they also have gone out of their way to sign Brittany Griner. We'll talk about why they only have one free agent in the past in this free agency cycle a little bit later on. But nonetheless, the big thing is that it's up in the air about whether or not I will remain a Las Vegas Aces fan like I've been for the last 7 years, or if I will become a Houston Comets fan again, because I was a kid. So they gotta get picked 2 WNBA teams. Everybody else has to league that they're a fan of or whatever. So maybe I get to pick 2 WNBA teams and rock the game. We'll see. We will see. Moving on, free agency for the Aces was pretty major. They made a lot of big moves in terms of re-signing key players. They didn't really pick up new players, which is interesting. But not you're the reigning champ. The answer is the formula works. You know what I mean? Especially when most of your team is already comprised of most of the players on Team USA. So Asia has signed for 3 years, $5 million. A lot of people were speculating how much money she was going to make. If you guys don't know, Asia is the best player in the WNBA as of right now, and doesn't look like anybody's going to be able to dethrone her anytime soon. She's got her own signature shoe, so she's got money from that coming in. But your job and your obligation as a player as a star player for a team is to get the most money that you possibly can to prevent. Basically, is to prevent other teams from pressuring other players taking less money, essentially. And that's what Asia did. She took $5 million. She's got the Supermax deal that everybody's been talking about. And then Chelsea Gray has just a little bit less than that. Chelsea Gray, superstar point guard, shooting guard, unstoppable bow-legged force. I'm sorry, knock-kneed. This is the way you claim. Is that like a slur or something? Let me know. Chelsea Gray, 3 years, $3.1 million. Jewel Lloyd and Jackie Young, who are now millionaires. Congratulations to them. Jewel Lloyd got 2.5, and then Jackie Young has a $1.1 million 1-year deal, because more than likely she's going to re-sign for an even bigger extension after this year is done. Either it be, I mentioned before the last episode, Jackie Young is the prime player that I think will be, if you're a team that doesn't have a Supermax deal already signed by a player, Jackie Young has got to be at the top of your list just because of her overall athleticism, her ability to score at all 3 levels, and then on top of that, her ball handling and playing skills. Dana Evans, heavily underrated player, I would say, but her injuries have kind of derailed her a little bit. But Dana was a huge part of why the Aces were able to win the championship this past year. She did a good job of filling in when there were injuries and stuff like that too. But she signs a 2-year, $779,000 deal, and then Stephanie Talbot, who signs a 1-year, $392,000 deal. The Aces lost Kia Stokes and Megan Gustafson, who have been mad for a long period of time, was hurt this past season, but she was a huge part of why the Aces won the championship 2 years ago. And then Kia Stokes was the backup center for the Aces, who I'm not like a huge fan of. Absolutely amazing person, very. But Kia Stokes is not bringing the offensive presence that you expect when you see. She does not bring the offensive presence, despite the fact that she's significantly larger than most players. She really struggles to finish around the rim, but nonetheless, she plays great defense. And we'll talk about where she's at a little bit later on. The Connecticut Sun, like I mentioned before, they signed Brittany Griner. That means that in a year from now, when the Connecticut Sun do not exist anymore, Brittany Griner will be playing potentially her final season as a WNBA player, or one of her final years as a WNBA player for the Houston Comets, a team that she grew up with as a young lady here in the Houston area. If you guys don't know, Brittany Griner is from Houston for a long period of time. Look, I don't know if it's fucked up for me to say this, but I'll say it anyway. There was like, when I was a kid, people used to, because Brittany went to a school named Nimitz. She went to Nimitz High School, and a lot of people made up shit that Brittany Griner was like the secret love child of Shaquille O'Neal for a long period of time. I'm dead serious too. People used to say that shit all the time. But yeah, anyway, 1 year, $1.1 million, which is kind of comparable to what she makes when she goes to EuroLeague ball. But yeah, the reason the free agency has been so light for the Connecticut Sun is, one, they have new ownership coming in. Ownership gets a say-so over all the level and the commitment that players are, the level of money being spent and the commitment level that is being made on free agents. And it's very clear that the Houston Comets are or the new Comets ownership is very comfortable with the skill level of what the Connecticut Sun are, especially considering it may mean that they're going to get a really good draft pick in the upcoming draft when they're the Houston Comets for the first time ever. And honestly, the team is really talented to begin with. They just had a shit ton of injuries this past season. So I'll be watching Connecticut Sun games a lot more intently because, one, I'm a big fan of Sky Rivers. I like the way she plays basketball. She reminds me a lot of Brittany Sykes, who is a long-limbed guard that drives to the basket, has really good ball handling skills. And they have another player who I think could challenge Fee and Nafisi Collier, for those of you who are uninitiated, and Asia Wilson to being the best power forward center in the WNBA, and that is Aaliyah Edwards. Big hopes lying on her continuing to be the amazing basketball player she is. The Atlanta Dream, they instantaneously have become a dark horse. I say dark horse, I say this slightly dark horse title contender for me. They have Alicia Howard, who is stupid good and is only getting better. They re-signed Brianna Jones, one of the better centers in the NBA, especially when it comes to the WNBA, when it comes to playing the true five. She's great at it. And then the trade for Angel Reese is a massive up because I doubt that first round pick is going to pan out to be somebody as good as Angel is and as good as she's going to be. We saw a little bit of what she's been up to in Unrivaled. Her finishing around the rim has drastically increased. And on top of that, her defensive presence continues. Her defensive range is expanding beyond the paint, and it's a little terrifying. Could be Atlanta Dream they're going to be a problem, like a real problem. I know the Dream made the playoffs for the first time in a long time this past season. It looks like they really have lined themselves up to be a real contender, to make some real noise and possibly get to the conference finals. The Dallas Wings, congratulations. Probably won't be asked this year. So they drafted AZ Flood to play the point guard position. Plus, they already have Paige Beckers, who's a great mid finisher and point guard / shooter for the team. They get Alana Smith for $3.7 million. She comes from the Minnesota Lynx, one of the better shooters, got a lot of size and good defender to go along with it. Alicia Clark signs I want to say this is a new minimum, $277,000 deal. She was recruited by Paige Beckers to come to the Wings, and I have to imagine Paige, knowing that AZ Flood was more than likely to end up on the Wings, going out and recruiting Alicia Clark, she wants to get away from having to play the guard position in some way, shape, or form. She wants to focus more on playing shooting guard, which is going to be a problem for the WNBA. Probably not going to be asked this year. So congratulations to them. I'm interested to see what happens down low in terms of like size overall. But Paige being able to focus on shooting guard a lot more is going to go a long, long way. The Wings being successful as a team. The Golden State Valkyries, who, man, if there was ever a picturesque first season that you could have for an expansion team, it is probably what the Valkyries did last year, -1, and that is Alyssa Burton getting a season-ending injury right before the playoffs really started to heat, right before the playoffs kicked off, right? They've taken another huge step forward. They have Gabby Williams, who is one of the best, if not the best, two-way basketball player in the WNBA. She's one of the best players, if not the best player for the French national team. If there's ever a contender for Team USA, it is the French national team. Kia Stokes, they signed her. That means a lot of size. Size is one of the most valuable assets that you can have as a WNBA team because just like in the NBA, just like in every other form of basketball you've ever played, you can't coach being tall. Being big, Kia Stokes is in great shape. She's physically strong, and having Gabby Williams, Kayla Thornton, and Tiffany Hayes signed up with the team again is going to be wild. Kayla Thornton, if you don't know, was a sixth man on a previous team, got picked up by the Valkyries in the expansion draft, and became the Valkyries' first ever WNBA All-Star. Like, legitimately went from being a bench player primarily, really underrated. She was one of those players that a lot of people, when you look at what she did in college, when she got drafted, where she got drafted, a lot of people thought she was going to get cut in training camp, and now she's not only a WNBA All-Star, she's an integral part of how the Valkyries are going to win games from now on. Gabby Williams, 3 years, $3.7 million. That's money well spent. Based off of everything that I've ever seen, anything that Gabby's ever done is money well spent. Now, don't know how far that's going to go for you in San Francisco, but I got to hook up with somebody in terms of finding a house, whatever. But yeah, huge moves from the Golden State Valkyries overall. Playoff contender, maybe mixing it up. Conference finals, who knows? Indiana Fever, I know a lot of people are really excited about this one. The Fever, for the second year in a row, have big in free agency. I'm assuming with the anticipation that they're going to have one of the best basketball players in the WNBA, and you know who I'm talking about, Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell has been re-signed. She was one of the big moves. Once they signed Kelsey Mitchell to a long-term contract, everything else could kind of fall into place. They went out and they got Monique Billings, who ironically enough came from the Golden State Valkyries. Plus, they have Leah Boston, who signed the biggest earning contract in free agency. She is a dominant center. Her conditioning has increased drastically, and her finishing around the rim, we saw in Unrivaled, has also increased as well. She took a huge step in terms of being a professional basketball player this past summer. Obviously, last season as well, when Caitlin Clark was out, she got the ball touches a lot more. And even leading up to Caitlin Clark out for the rest of the season, there was one player that Caitlin was really heavily relying on to be able to finish at the pick and roll, and it was Aaliyah Boston. I expect so much from her, and there's nothing that we've seen so far that says that she can't do it. I was not a believer for a long time, but this summer of Unrivaled, I'm a believer. This past season of Unrivaled, I'm a believer in Aaliyah Boston. Monique Billings, 2 years, $1.6 million. She earned that money. There's two other deals. Lexi Hull, 2 years, $1.5 million. Lexi is a player that shows an intense willingness to play defense against literally anyone, and she's essentially the definition of a 3-and-D player in basketball by any stretch of the imagination. Plus, she really does get out in transition really well. Sophie Cunningham signs a deal for 1 year, $665,000, and Lexi Hull, like I said, $1.5 million, well earned from her. Considering she's willing to do whatever it takes to be able to go out there and win. And then Misha Hines Allen, who's a undersized center who plays really strong down low underneath. The Fever, really good free agency overall. Most importantly, signing Aaliyah Boston the money she needs to go out there and ball out of control. Fever, once again, they made the playoffs, 2 years in a row, despite not having one of the who we suspect is going to be one of the better players of the WNBA. It's because they're ridiculously good. Kelsey Mitchell finally getting her money, getting it done. The LA Sparks, lost Azari Stevens, big time center for the Sparks this past season. Kia Jackson as well at the power forward position, but they maintain De'Erica Hamby, mother herself, 3 years, $3.4 million. Basically, De'Erica has she had a lawsuit or has a lawsuit out against the Las Vegas Aces because during her free agency, 2 or 3 years ago, after they won the title, De'Erica Hamby was a huge part of why the Aces were able to win the WNBA title, and she was going into free agency after they won the title, and there was kind of like it was a not legally binding promise that was made that De'Erica was going to be able to re-sign with the Aces under a certain amount of money. She got pregnant, and then she was pregnant in the course of free agency, right? Before free agency and all this kind of stuff. Like, she has 2 beautiful children now. Her family's doing great, especially now that $3.4 million. That's going to go a long way for some acts. You know what I mean? It's going to go a long way for some gushers. Anyway, De'Erica Hamby had a whole lawsuit against the Las Vegas Aces because she reported that she was essentially lied to by the Aces about them having a spot secured for her on the roster, and then they went out and she said they went behind her back and were recruiting other players during free agency, and then De'Erica signed with the Sparks. Now she's getting a deal that would be possible for her to get with the Aces now. So it did work out for her hosting the lawsuit because that sounds like some low down dirty shit that went down. Basically based off of what everything that De'Erica says happened. And that's going to leave it. Erica Wheeler, 2 years, $1.2 million. Little Erica Wheeler. Erica, great ball handler, great shooter. Decent at getting to the hoop. Really struggles against the side, obviously. She's like significantly smaller than a lot of people. But nonetheless, Erica Wheeler, a great guard to have on the team. She spent last season with the Seattle Storm, and the lack of talent in other positions with the Storm, why they really struggled. But Erica went out there and she cooked. She was out of control vast majority of the season, and when she's hot, she's hot. So it makes sense that the Sparks will want her on the team. And then Nneka Ogwumike, the mysterious landing location of Nneka Ogwumike, has finally been unveiled. If I did hear the drama about it, there was a balloon production company that was making a Welcome Nneka sign, and a lot of people took it as a universal sign that Nneka was going to the Minnesota Lynx, when it turned out it was just Nneka visiting the Lynx, and they were saying welcome to Minnesota as a way to show that they care about her and stuff like that. And afterwards, her sister, by the way, H-Town Holder Ogwumike, both of the Ogwumike sisters, by the way, my bad. Her sister posted an IG with LA Sparks colored balloons dancing that her sister was joining the LA Sparks. So 1 year, almost $50,000 short of $1 million deal. And then Emma Cannon, who I'm going to be honest, never heard of her. Nneka and De'Erica, and I feel weird saying this. It feels like there's shades of, especially when we talk about professional basketball teams, it feels like there's some shades of the Clippers with the way the LA Sparks have been building their team. They weren't really like a super duper contender this past season, and I think a lot of focus is on getting talent that is already developed and getting consistent veterans, because the consistency will outweigh the potential more often than not when it comes to basketball. That's a concept that I can respect. That's an approach to basketball I can respect. But I will say it does feel like the veterans they're trusting are a little bit younger than the veterans that the Clippers are truly entrusting their skill in their entire organization to, or whatever. But it feels like their team is a little bit older, but it doesn't take away the fact that they're a legit threat. Some veterans able to gel together and make a deep run in the playoffs makes a lot more sense than a ton of rookies. It does suck that Rakia can't be a part of such an immensely talented team. Rakia Jackson going to the Chicago Sky, like I mentioned before. But nonetheless, the Sparks seem like they are dialed in on getting the dubs, getting in the playoffs and being contenders. The Minnesota Lynx, they're a team that they have their core group of players in Caleb McBride and Neficia Collier. They have their core group in terms of Courtney Williams, and they lost Alana Smith, which is going to be a huge blow for the 3-point production. And I'm assuming they're expecting Caleb McBride to fill the gap there because she's a top tier shooter. But Neficia Collier is coming off of the offseason where she's had probably the most rest that she's ever had, because she didn't play internationally, and she didn't play an unrivaled this past season as well. She had surgery on both ankles, so we'll see how long it takes her to recover from that one. But the Lynx signed Kayla McBride to 2 years, $2.4 million. Courtney Williams, 2 years, $2.4 million. And Natasha Howard to 2 years, $1.4 million. And these are all starters. These are all starters on their team. These are all key integral players that they know are going to be a part of the Minnesota Lynx. There's no way to sugarcoat it. If you say Collar signed a huge extension as well, there's no way to sugarcoat it. They're championship or bust. They were one game away from going to the WNBA finals and facing off against the Las Vegas Aces in a matchup that would have been amazing to see. Also would have been perfect if you're the WNBA commissioner. It's the two best players in the league. Duke it out. Asia sneaks back into the season. Absolutely dominated season for her, and she snatches away the MVP from what looked like it was going to be Felicia Collier's season to win the MVP over Asia. And there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's what everything. That's what all this is about. So they losing Alana Smith. They losing Natisha Heidemann. So the buds are broken up. It happens. They lose Dejanay Carrington, who, by the way, was injured most of the season anyway. She didn't really play too much for the Lynx. The New York Liberty, on the other hand, a big-time team that everybody's a ton of focus on them at all times, not only because of New York, but because a lot of people really do care about what the Liberty are about. They won the championship in the gap where the Aces didn't win it the last 3 years. Breanna Stewart, $3.7 million. Jonquel Jones, $3.7 million for the next 3 years. And then huge sign along with obviously bringing back Sabrina Ionescu. Satu Sabali, 2 years, $1.6 million. Satu breaks up the trio of Kalia Copper and Alyssa Thomas from the Phoenix Mercury and combines together to make a big four, if you will, with Sabrina Ionescu, Breanna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, and Satu Sabali all together. That's an all-star single position for the New York Liberty, and not just regular all-stars, like perennial all-stars. Satu took off this past summer. This past offseason, she did play an unrivaled, so she's well rested. Same thing with Jonquel Jones, if I'm not mistaken, and same thing with Breanna Stewart did play. The Misties made it all the way to the finals and lost, but actually won. I don't know why I'm saying that. The Misties made it all the way to they won the unrivaled championship. But the biggest loss, and then Breanna Stewart went overseas and played for Leverkusen right before the season started. Finished off the season with them and won the EuroLeague championship. What a run! The biggest loss for the Liberty so far is Kennedy Burke. She was one of their top 10 scorers on the team and played some key minutes for them. So, but the addition of Satu Sabali is going to go a long way. They have Rebecca Allen also back on the team, and they're going to be cooking. Like the Liberty are instantaneously a title contender. They are every single year, obviously in regards to injuries and stuff like that. But they have to be, and I get why they got to be the front runner up front, just because Satu is called the unicorn for a reason. She's amazing at all three levels, on offense and on defense, and it shows. Phoenix Mercury, WNBA finals last season. They got destroyed in the finals, but nonetheless, they made it there by beating the Minnesota Lynx. They've made a clear decision. Alyssa Thomas, the engine, is who they're going to put their money behind. 3 years, $3.6 million. Kalia Copper, 2 years, $2.4 million. Both players on Team USA. Understandably so. They are some of the best basketball players on the planet. Sammy Whitcomb, one of the great three-point shooters in the WNBA, 2 years, $1.4 million. And DeWanna Bonner signs for $500,000 for 1 year. If you don't know, DeWanna Bonner and Alyssa Thomas are married. Have to wonder if it's a little discount because Alyssa Thomas is making $3.6 million. But nonetheless, DeWanna is on the DeWanna and Alyssa are late in their careers, so they're making focus on making the run to win the title, and I'll be interested to see how much the Phoenix Mercury in the mix now on Satu Sabali, who was a huge part of why they made it to the conference finals last season. So Seattle Storm, talk about the clear message. They sent a clear message. If you got old knees, get the hell out of town. So they are banking on the youth and the size of their youth. It's Awafam, who is 6'6", if I'm not mistaken. Dominique Malonga, Team France's superstar, 6'6" as well, I believe. And then Flage Johnson, she's 6'1" at the point guard position, formerly of LSU, now of the Seattle Storm after being drafted by the Valkyries. Flage in the mix as well. They also went out and got Natisha Heidemann, who is really young herself. They got Big Mama Stephanie Dolson in her position, and then Katie Samuelson, who is probably going to be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. We'll see what happens, but one of the stalwart vets on the team, and Jade Mulburn, she's 1 year, $500,000. So Tisha Heidemann, like they said, like Tisha and Courtney Williams said in their Stud Bud streams, they're going to be millionaires. Both of them are now millionaires. So shout out. But yeah, the Seattle Storm are way more focused on the fact that they are going to be outsizing their opponent in a lot of places, in a lot of ways. Because if AWA turns out to be anything like we think she can be, because she has been playing professional basketball and now she's been drafted into WNBA, her and Dominique Malonga are going to be a nasty force, especially considering, we talked about it before, size is at a premium in the WNBA overall, just like any other basketball you play. The Toronto Tempo give me hope that they be the Valkyries. And I say this, they got a ton of unknowns on the team. They got a lot of young players, a lot of people you really haven't heard of, but then they went out in free agency and they also spent some money. Went out and they got Brittany Sykes, who's one of the best drivers to the hoop, got great ball handling skills, and then playmaking ability as well. They got Marina Maybury, who is a top-tier shooter when it's all said and done, and has the ability to get to the hoop as well. She's got a lot of size and plays bigger than she is. Kia Nurse, huge help along the way in terms of the veteran mindset, the veteran mentality at the point guard position. This overall, when you look at those three names, Brittany Sykes, Marina Maybury, and Kia Nurse, this feels like a healthy environment for a young player to come into and learn how to play at a top-tier level. This is a good environment for younger players to be around players who have different skill sets at different positions, but also have knowledge to be able to share with people because they've gone through some stuff. Marina Maybury and Brittany Sykes have gone through a lot with the teams they've been on before. Kia Nurse has been on a lot of winning, high-level teams as well, and they can share some of that knowledge with a lot of the Toronto that are coming in. And like I said, I really do like. And then they have Timmy Fungeli, who's coming in as well, who plays down low and is one of the bigger players in terms of like the center position for the Toronto Tempo. They feel like they could make some noise here. Watching the last couple of years, we've seen like this steady rise of Brittany Sykes as a guard, or yeah, I guess you say guard, at the shooting guard position. And it's just amazing now because she's like 2 years, $2.3 million. Right? And she's been playing with the Mystics for a long time. The Mystics haven't really been doing too much. They haven't been a threat to win the title ever is correct. And Brittany Sykes has been blowing up since she won the unrivaled championship of the Rose 2 years ago. So, yeah, that's really all I had to say. Washington Mystics on this one. The Mystics have made it very clear what they are about. A lot of truth is the way to phrase it, in a good way. They have a plan, it seems like, in some way. They have Michaela Onweri, who signs for 2 years, $1.4 million. And then the following players are all over 6'2". So it's Shakira Austin, 6'5". 6'7" from UCLA. She just won the championship. She's a rookie. And then it's Angela Dulick, 6'4". She's also a rookie from UCLA. And it's Kiki Arifin, who's 6'3", but also has a lot of ability in terms of jump shot and mid-range game to go along with it. She shows a lot of power down low, and she's a young player who's getting better. We saw a lot of development from her, unrivaled. And then Cassandra Prosper, who is a rookie from Notre Dame. She's 6'3". Now, there's a chance that all these gals don't make the roster when it's all said. The preseason is going on right now in the WNBA, but the size of the Mystics is something you just can't ignore. And it's going to be a factor, especially I think Kiki Arifin and Shakira Austin, who are far more offensively centered bigs when it comes to driving to the hoop and stuff like that. And then Lauren Betts, I think her biggest thing is going to be, she's going to be taller than 90% of the players that she plays up against. But the fact of the matter is her strength level has to increase. And maybe it's just the role that she had to play at UCLA, and we just underestimate her strength. But I think that's going to be the biggest factor. Just you can say that about every single rookie for every single league. You're going up against grown women. She has to figure out how to get grown women's strength pretty quickly. But the Mystics are willing to seemingly wait and figure it out because, you've seen Lauren Betts play basketball. She's worth it. On that note, I am done. This show is done. Shout out to everybody who watched it all the way to the end. I will be continuing to watch the NBA playoffs, having a good time. Like I said before, my focus is definitely Rockets Lakers because I'm from Houston and I'm a big Rockets fan. So I gotta watch them crash and burn in case maybe they do come back in the game. We'll see. But my biggest emphasis is going to be Timberwolves Nuggets. That's going to be my fun playoff series where I sit back and I don't have to take much for the show. Anyway, water, have a good time. Tell the people in your life that you love them, including the people you hate too sometimes. That's all I got, man. Oh, don't forget, go home, Roger.